everyone, and welcome back to the vast and ominous Comic Vault. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And it's time for some solo stuff. Eric's going to talk about a few things, and I've just got some recent back issues, some singles that I read from my pull list. Eric, I'm finally getting back to reading some new comics again. I've just been leaving things in a box and not getting to them, and this week some kind of exciting things came, or I say this week. I hadn't been to the comic shop in probably 4 or 5 weeks, and I bought a giant stack, and I read a few things. I'm going to talk about those a little bit later. I'm going to interrupt Eric like in the middle of his stuff, and I'm going to let him go ahead and get started. We put a half an hour on the clock. We're going to do as much stuff as we can. In that half an hour, we have a whole lot more stuff to do on the omnibus, and we spent a little bit too long on Crisis and Tom King Batman. So, Eric, why don't you go ahead and get started, and tell us what we should or should not be reading. Go right ahead.
I mean, everything I've got is positive.
Oh, good.
It's all should be reading. Okay, so I'm going to start with Kill Chain, which is the next in Dynamite's James Bond books. It's written by Andy Diggle, who wrote the last one I reviewed, Hammerhead, which I'd said was up to that point my favorite of the three. This one's just as good, if not better than Hammerhead. Here's what bothers me about it. Okay, so first of all, I'll get to what bothers me because it's the last page. This is really good. It's really, really contemporary and feels smart in how it thinks about politics. Which is what I'm worried about. So I mentioned that the body. I'm worried that the body is going to feel like internet politics. This feels like somebody who follows international politics. So he brings back, in the original Bond novels, there is a...
Oh, so when you say internet politics, sorry, you mean like social politics.
I'm afraid the other one's going to feel like social politics.
Right.
This feels like legitimate international politics. Like someone that pays attention.
He doesn't mean the politics of the running of the internet. He means like people online.
Yes.
And their politics.
Yes. I'm afraid that's what the body's going to feel like. This feels like someone who's been paying attention. In some ways to things that I wasn't paying attention. Because he talks about... so, in the original James Bond novels, before we get to Spectre, it's a Russian group called... Oh man, I can't pronounce it. It's like Spetsmirnum. It's Russian.
I bet that's not it, but I just want to keep saying it.
I've heard it pronounced before, and I'm not far away.
Okay.
I'm in the ballpark. It's not something I've only ever read. So, he brings them back in this, and he said that one of the big things with James Bond was he was like, yeah, Russia's kind of the bad guys again. Obviously, you would bring back the Spetsmirnum, whatever it is, means death to spies. They are a counter-spy organization. And he brings them back in this. We haven't had them since...
Wow.
From Russia with Love. From Russia with Love is the last novel that uses them.
That's cool.
And he brings them back in this because he's like, yeah, it just makes sense in the modern world. And there's a whole thing in this about how, like, Russia went from being the bad guys to the good guys, now they're kind of the bad guys again. But they never really stopped being the bad guys. They just got quieter about it. And, like, there's a lot of stuff that he talks about where I'm like, okay, so, like, you've been paying attention. Like, you're doing what I'm not doing. You're looking at all of the politics. You've been doing it for years. So... There's a kill early on, and this guy puts SS into the victim's hand, which stands for the Russian word I'm not going to try and say again. And James Bond immediately goes, like everyone else, SS Nazis.
It's the SS, yeah.
And they go to he goes to America and goes after like skinheads. And it felt so like right now where like Russia's doing like. The evil Russian bad guys are doing things, and like, but don't pay attention to us. It's these racists. They're the ones that are doing it. And I was like, oh, that feels real timely. That feels like we're thinking.
Yeah.
And so that all felt like really smart, and like I was like, I feel like I just want Andy Diggle to be writing James Bond. I feel like he has the right sensibilities for it, and so far he's like I liked Warren Ellis's stuff. I think Andy Diggle's 2 books are better.
Did you ever think you'd say that? Diggle versus Al, like...
No, like, as much as I love The Losers, it's not as good as most things Warren Ellis writes.
And Diggle can be hit and miss.
Yeah, well, he hasn't written anything that I've loved since, I guess, The Losers and Green Arrow Year One.
Yeah.
But this feels like, much like the last one, it feels like top form Diggle. It feels like the Diggle I haven't seen since Green Arrow Year One, and...
Maybe he just needed to get away from superheroes, I don't know.
Well, he doesn't like superheroes. But some of his Create Your Own stuff, people have said, has not been great either. But like this, he should be writing the monthly. And it's the one issue I have with this book is I don't think he's going to get to write any more. Because we're already like 3 miniseries past this, and he hasn't gotten to come back. This ends on a cliffhanger. Not cliffhanger, but like he stops the plot, but he doesn't stop the bad guy, and the bad guy's like, okay, we're not just going after spies, we're going to kill James Bond. He's setting up for another story, and I don't think he's going to get to come back and tell it, and I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
No, he might. And these books exist in a continuity, but they're not calling back to each other a lot, so I don't think anyone else is going to pick up that plot thread. So, we'll see. I hope Andy Diggle gets to come back and write at least one more and finish off the Spitz-Smirnum story that he started there. But it's really good. I really like how he plays with the women, with the Bond women. Kind of both times they're evil, but like there's also another chick in this. It really feels like he's trying to take the Bond stuff and it's like, look, this is the formula, and I'm not going to stray too far from that, but it is not 1955, and we're going to do some things a little bit differently. And I don't know, he just seems like he just really gets that material and should be the guy just writing it month to month. But yeah. I'm also going to talk about Casino Royale.
So is that like a direct adaptation of Casino Royale?
Yes.
Is it too direct?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this.
Would you like to conduct the rest of the review that way, where I should ask you things?
This is, and I only respond in yes and no, yes and no answers. So when Dynamite announced this, I was kind of disappointed because in their Dynamite James Bond universe, we know, at least as Warren Ellis set it up, all the books have happened. They just happened in modern day, and I was like, well, if you're going to adapt the books,
Do it in modern day.
Do it in modern day. Like,
And they're not doing that.
no, they're not. And I love the books, and I've always wanted like a straight adaptation of the books.
But is that outside of that continuity?
It is outside of this continuity. Well, it has to be.
It would have to, of course.
Yeah.
That's a stupid
So
question.
what I didn't know is this started before Dynamite gets the James Bond rights. Like, the idea of doing graphic novel adaptations, of direct adaptations of Ian Fleming's James Bond books, Ian Fleming Publications is working on before they start working with Dynamite.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. I listened to a whole interview with the artist, and this got pushed back for like a year. Like, it would get pushed back a month, and then 3 months, and then like it just seemed like it was never coming out. There was this really interesting thing with the artist where he talked about like everyone kept yelling at me. I don't think they realized that like I didn't come onto this book till like 6 months before it came out. Like, there's like a weird troubled history with this. I don't know when the second one's going to come out. It hasn't been solicited, but the script is written. We know the script is written. I've heard there's a whole discussion over whether a different artist should do each book or if this artist should do all of them. And he wants to do all of them because he said James Bond is his, like, I can die happy. The only character I want to draw, that I've wanted to draw is James Bond.
Wow.
Like, he hasn't done a lot of other stuff that I know. But, like, he's done like issues of Batman and things like that, but like never anything like he hasn't had like a major run.
Yeah,
but like
he looks like a mid-2000s Batman artist.
But like he's like look, I've drawn Batman, I've drawn this, and I've drawn that. The brass ring for me was James Bond. So this is about as direct an adaptation of Casino Royale as you could possibly make.
With a lot of narration boxes.
A lot of narration boxes. And I've read other adaptations where they do that, where like you get like a lot of text and stuff like that. It's not intrusive. It doesn't feel like you're reading like an abridged version of the book.
Yeah.
It feels like a real legitimate adaptation. It never feels... A lot of times we talked about this at one point. I think it was a GNN at one point, where we talked about adapting books to comics, and why is that so hard? Why don't we adapt them to comics? Why do we just... And here's the book.
Yeah, we have had that conversation somewhere.
Yeah. This is it done well, where we're using prose passages.
And you don't think it reads like an illustrated novel? You think it reads like a comic book?
No, I think it reads like a comic book. I feel like this could have come out. it wouldn't be exactly this. It also does something that I've never seen before. It goes chapter by chapter.
Wow.
So it's not just like this is the book. Like we have chapter 1, and then we have chapter 2, and it's the chapters of the book.
That's really interesting.
So it's 37 chapters long.
But they're all real short.
Yeah. Well, some of them are longer than others, like in a novel. This is phenomenal.
Wow.
If you've never read a James Bond book, if you're not like a book reader, or if you're not sure if you'd like the James Bond books, I think you can read this and get a good idea of what those books are like. Like, it's not the book, but like, if you just want an idea of what a James Bond book is like, you can read this and get a good sense of like, oh yeah, I think I might like those books, I'd go read those. Or like, this is real old-fashioned, I don't know, this doesn't exactly seem that adventure-y, like, it's not exciting.
Is all the prose taken directly verbatim, or is any of it changed?
So, it's been a while since I read the book, so like I can't
So it's
tell you if
hard
all
to
the
say.
dialogue is verbatim. I know all the text boxes are about verbatim. I think some of the dialogue's rewritten a little bit.
Because I was going to say that might also give you a sense of his narrative style, but if much has changed, then...
I mean, you're getting his prose, at least in the caption boxes, and I think the dialogue's
Okay.
pretty close.
That's mostly what I was asking, is if that's Fleming's narration in the boxes.
There's a trick that they use that I don't think fully works, but would only have that problem in this book if this creative team continues on adapting the books. They do this thing that's kind of like Bond vision, where
What?
we're using a lot of
Like
times,
detective vision?
yeah, kind of like detective vision, where we're noting things in the room and something about them. This is where you're
Oh.
getting a lot of like
Oh,
paraphrasing
interesting.
of things and whatnot.
And it goes like in front of people,
Yeah.
saying things about them.
Yeah, and sometimes it'll just be like notes, like whenever he lights a cigarette, it'll be like 27 cigarette of the day, something like that.
Okay.
I don't think it's apparent that it is that until about halfway through the book. Like, there's a point where I think it makes itself apparent. This is James Bond's perspective. This is what he's thinking. Up
And
until
that's a
that
good visual
point,
way to do that.
it is a good
if
visual way
you
to
know what's going on.
the problem is that I think for the first half of the book, it just feels like more information.
Okay.
I don't think you understand until it's 100% apparent that this is not like a narrative trick. It is a narrative trick, but it's James Bond's perspective.
You're in his head.
Yeah, you're in his head. I just want to note one page that I think is amazing. So, in Casino Royale, there's a point where James Bond is tortured by having... Have you seen the movie Casino Royale? Okay. So you know the torture scene?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't like that torture scene because I think they take all the teeth out of that torture scene. It's very visceral in the book. And we have that here. So when he's in the hospital afterwards, James Bond has this whole thought process about, like, whether he could ever be sexually active again. Like, he doesn't know because of how he's been tortured.
Wow.
And we illustrate that amazingly. So we have all this text where it's Bond contemplating, like, Bond worrying that he's not really a man anymore and that kind of a thing. It's Bond's eyes and a gun being disassembled.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So, like, it's stuff like that where I'm like, no, this is a great adaptation.
Yeah, the metaphor of that's real clear.
Yeah. This is great.
I'm not dangerous anymore.
Yeah. I'm not a man anymore. Yeah. So, also, if you like the Ian Fleming books, you should read this, and because it's really good. This is brilliant. Really, really highly recommend it.
Wow, it's cool. Being an adaptation like that, I didn't think you would have too much to say about that.
I don't know if I have much to say in the later ones, but...
So did that just come out?
It came out a couple of months ago.
Oh,
I
wow.
just got
Okay.
it, but it's a couple of months
But it's
old.
real recent.
Yeah. But I really hope they get to do all of them. I want that artist to come back, like, even if he doesn't, like, I want that literal of a translation of those books for all 11. I think it's 11.
Well, Eric, I forgot, there is a thing we both read.
Yes.
And it's Klaus and the Crying Snowman.
Yeah,
And,
that book didn't make me cry, but almost.
But man, I got this close at the end. So every year, Grant Morrison and Dan Mora, he always brings Mora back. Mora, who had been drawing Go-Go Power Rangers,
is now
drawing Buffy, which I'll talk about here in a minute. I read that. But Klaus and the Crying Snowman is the third of the yearly one-shot Klaus books ever since the seven-issue miniseries ended. And I didn't care for the first two.
This is far and away the best one.
I thought they were okay. I think the Coca-Cola Wars one I liked better than the other one, if memory serves. Or is that flipped? There was one that I thought was a little overly preachy.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
And the second one you thought was too confusing, and that he has an entire history that he's not explaining to us.
Yeah, and more of that is given here. It still has that. It's less of a problem. This is a story that I was more able to sink my teeth into. He's still doing big, grand mythology things. He's playing with Norse mythology, especially a lot here.
It's amazing.
Surtur is in this.
What we do with Ragnarok is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's really cool. But there's also a smaller personal story about a guy who treats his family poorly and then pays for it by turning into a snowman. And that was my favorite stuff in it. The whole issue could have been about that. I didn't need any of the background mythology, and I loved that stuff. The whole issue could have just been this sad, pathetic, broken man who got turned into a snowman and who gets reunited with his daughter at the end. That's all I needed this to be. It's I think daughter, I think daughter, kid. Yeah, that was the best stuff, in my opinion.
It's really good.
Yeah,
the Norse stuff blew my mind. The reveal of what that Ragnarok was just the Norse gods being angry jerks. They're just war hungry, and then it wasn't the end of the world. It was just they were attacking.
Yeah,
that I never saw that coming. And then the fact that there was a peaceful, non-violent resolution, I thought was really cool.
And the time travel thing was good.
Yeah, the time travel thing was good, which is kind of how we get to that. But no, it's really good.
Because they're introducing they introduce a supporting cast for Klaus. I think a couple we'd seen already. I can't remember.
Father Christmas, I think, is in here.
Yeah.
We've seen him before. I think Jack Frost is in this.
Frost.
I don't know if we'd seen him.
I can't remember.
Before.
But anyway, he's got warriors that he fights with who are Christmas characters.
Oh, and Russian Santa, who's not. He's not Russian. He's what is it?
What, Viking Santa?
No. What's this guy? This guy who's losing his powers because he's Santa for when they don't he's Communist Santa.
Oh, that's right.
And the Berlin Wall has fallen, and they don't believe in him anymore.
Yeah, that was great.
And so he's losing his power. So good.
Yeah, and I love that Santa doesn't care about the ideology. You remember where Klaus is but without you, we would have lost those wars.
Yep.
There's this whole... There's still all this talk about a big war that happened in the past that I keep waiting for Morrison to come back and actually
will probably be the
dramatize.
miniseries, right?
If we ever get another miniseries, it's got to be that, because we keep dancing all around it, and they go to space.
Oh yeah, this is mine.
And there's all that. Yeah, that was yours. I still have to buy that. Thanks for letting me read it.
Those are the only singles I buy regularly. Is every year I buy the Klaus.
Yeah, because that's the only way they're coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually they'll collect them.
They'll eventually collect them, but I'm not going to wait years.
Yeah, no, you got to read them now.
Yeah.
But anyway, we still highly recommend Klaus. If you only pick up one of those, get that one.
Yeah, thus far, this is
the
the best one, absolutely.
And that reads fine without the other two, because I don't remember what happened in those. That much, you know what I mean?
I should go back to them. Maybe next year.
No, I should.
Maybe next year I'll go back through all of it.
Read all. I mean, I've got to go back to that mini. I wish I'd read the mini before this, but anyway, no, it's still great. Can I run through some singles just real fast?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to be super brief on these. So I'm just going to show you all the stuff that I read this week. And, I have a bunch of other stuff I bought that I just haven't gotten to yet. Ninja Turtles. I'll get into Turtles. Power Rangers 34. This is still fine, but I don't care. Because it's not... It doesn't feel like it's really Power Rangers, really. And it's too big. Right after Shattered Grid... you're gonna do another story about a big cosmic villain that wants to destroy the whole universe. Like,
is it a villain we've ever seen before?
no, because they're in that limbo between universes, and he lives there.
Oh, so it's not like it's like three different villains like stuck together. Like it's a limbo villain.
No, it's just this big creepy limbo villain that is in this limbo, and anyway,
and they call him Limbo.
I don't remember his name. I'm not invested in this at all. They find a shard of the Morphin Grid, and they're like the Morphin Grid is like the Force. That shouldn't be possible, but somehow it is, and there's like this crystallized version of it, and so now they can power everything again, and they're able to morph and stuff. But there's a mystery about that whole thing, and it's still premise-wise is very Battlestar Galactica and Power Rangers, but I'm waiting for them to get back to Earth so I can care again, because just in this little thing I don't care. There's this ranger that they picked up in the limbo who they do this whole thing with, like, you've been a ranger, but not really, because you didn't have a team, and being a Power Ranger is all about teamwork, and so, like what are you really if you're not? And so they're trying to teach her how to be a ranger, and so, like, I guess they're kind of bringing her into the team now and stuff. And they make, like, energy Megazords with the Zords with the shard of the Morphin Grid they found. And
I don't think I would like that.
No, I don't think you would either.
That sounds like in a different way than Shard Grid. That sounds like awful Power Rangers fan fiction.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not delivered well. That sounds like
it just reads like somebody who doesn't really want to be running Power Rangers and is doing something else. And it's like, well, if it's big and cosmic, it's close enough. And yeah, it's not what I want. Go-Go is what I want, and we've always said should have been the main book from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to get closer to catching up to where this starts, and really feels like it should be where we start from the beginning. I told you after I read 15, before I read 16, that I thought we were building to an adaptation of Green with Evil. That's gonna happen, as far as I can tell.
So that really should
that.
be. That really should just be the only Power Rangers book. Like, if we're gonna adapt everything, like, that seems like a good amount of time before we get to Green with Evil, like issue-wise, like...
Yeah, no, it really is. And I bet they'll try to make a big deal out of it, and it's weird to do that as an event after you hit Shattered Grid, but, we're building toward a Green with Evil that will have more story sophistication and more, obviously this has been, a really good character drama with a lot of character dimension. I care about the romance stuff in this book. It's really nice. It's a Power Rangers book where I care about the romance. It's a really good high school thing. I still say that this is what adult Power Rangers on TV would be like. It's just wonderful. And I'll show it to you. What they do with they're building kind of two romances, or like one that's not coming together and one that is. So you've got Jason and Trini, and they're getting together. That is a really interesting kind of. They do. You don't know this episode yet because you haven't gotten this far in TNG, but they do a better version of Attached from season 7 TNG, where Picard and Crusher have like this telepathic link and they can read each other's minds. They do that with Trini and Jason in this. And so Jason can tell that she's in love with him, but she doesn't want him to know that, and so she's kind of trying to deny it. But they both know that it's true, and they end up having a kiss in the middle, and I buy it. It's really good, and I was invested in that. And then they do a kind of mirrored thing with, of all people, Kimberly and Skull, which this book is just straight up doing. There were a lot of kids when we were kids that picked up on. They're maybe doing a thing with that, and they should go all the way with that with Skull and Kimberly. They do that in this book, but she's using Skull as kind of a rebound after that guy she was dating that ended up not being a Power Ranger, and that Rita was controlling, which they're playing up very much as like the proto Tommy now. Like, we're about to build the Green with Evil. That was the first kid that she did that with. Mm. But now she's gone and found the green power coin. We do a whole issue where, that's the subplot of this, where she goes and gets it. Mm. And she didn't have it just sitting around the whole time, and like eventually she's gonna, deal with it. She's gonna use it. And so all Skull has wanted all this time is to get together with him, and for Kimberly to care about him. And he's awkward, and he doesn't know how to treat her really, but he's trying really hard. They go to the same carnival that she went to with her old boyfriend real early in this, and that's part of the whole rebound thing. Where, like, that was her idea, and she takes him to the place where they went, and it's really awkward. But she keeps talking about how good of a time she's having, even though the thing she's most worried about is just like running into that guy while they're there, and At one point, she is, again, just doing the rebound thing. She's about to kiss him. He denies her.
Ooh.
It's fantastic.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really cool. So anyway, I highly recommend those. They're just wonderful. Really like the new Buffy series so far.
Okay.
This first issue.
Which is drawn by Dan Mora.
Yeah, and it's wonderful.
It's the best looking Buffy
you're
comic
right,
I've ever
it's
seen.
the best looking Buffy comic. His likenesses are just great. This does what Go-Go's doing.
But for Buffy? That's interesting because Go-Go is Buffy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. So, this does what this should have done in the first place, in that it starts from the beginning and is just a reimagining. It's not pretending like a bunch of things have happened already that we're supposed to remember, but we have to remember them slightly different because it happened now. This is Buffy set now, but we said it at the beginning of everything, and we get a lot done in this first issue. We see her meeting Xander and Willow for the first time. One thing we do in this that's kind of irritating is we do this 3 or 4 times in one issue. We're constantly making a big deal out of the fact that someday Willow will be a witch. Like, we keep finding ways to drop like witch and like and we're you know. We'll just say things like, this. I can't remember what exactly it is because it's been a couple days. But like, witches are gross, or you wouldn't want to. Willow would never want to be a witch. That kind of thing. And it's like, haha, because we know that someday that will happen. That's irritating. I don't like that kind of thing. But anyway, it's less of a reimagining than you would expect. Like, it's kind of just an update where it reads like if Buffy started in like season 3 or like the beginning of season 4. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have a season 1 feel at all. Like, she is already emotionally kind of more like where she'll be later on. Like, at the beginning, she already has a part-time job and she's working at a fast food restaurant, like she will be in season 7, or is it 5? I forget. But we're already doing that stuff, and it feels like we've kind of aged everybody a little bit. I don't know if they are already supposed to be seniors, but it reads like they're a little bit aged. We introduce Anya right away. Well, she's here from the beginning.
So I flipped through it. I didn't read it.
The magic shop, yeah.
And I saw Anya. Does it feel like we're doing things too quickly, or does it feel natural? Because when I saw Anya, I was like, "That's real fast."
Yeah. We don't know anything about her yet. They play her as a mystery. And I think you and I would only think that because we know about this. We know a lot about the series already. If this was your introduction to Buffy, it wouldn't feel that way.
Okay.
Because you don't have a bunch more supporting cast. Like, we don't, like, Cordelia's not here.
Oh, okay.
Angel's not here yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if they even have the rights to do Angel, because sometimes those rights are separate, sometimes they're not.
I don't know. She could just totally not be here. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But so far so good. There's no mention of like the previous school, like the movie stuff.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
But she knows she's a Slayer already.
Yes.
Okay.
She does already know that. She's working with Giles already before the book begins.
Interesting.
Which I like. So like, you asked if it gets too much done right away. It jumps ahead slightly where like it starts at the beginning.
We're not redoing Origin.
But we get past the Origin stuff real fast, which I really appreciate.
Sure.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
I think it's a good start.
Okay, cool.
Did you have other stuff you want to talk about?
I did. I can go through them real quick.
Yeah. Why don't I mention one more thing real fast?
Okay.
Because I don't have to deal with anything else really.
Okay.
Let me just say the 2020 things. I read the. Is it here? Yeah, I read the Ghostbusters one and liked it quite a bit. These are celebrating the IDW's 20th anniversary, and so they go either, with each of their big series, they go either 20 years ahead or 20 years behind. Both of these are set 20 years later.
Okay.
Which means Turtles is in the future, and Ghostbusters would be more or less right now, which is kind of fun.
That's fun.
Right? And this reads like the beginning of a series that Burnham either someday might get to write or never will write, where he's introducing 4 new Ghostbusters that are working with the original 4, who are still not too old to keep working, but they just send these guys out when they don't want to have to deal with things, and that's fun. I like this new cast. I won't talk about it, but I like them. They're interesting enough. They're fun and quirky. One of them is like the nephew or something of the guy with the weird accent in Ghostbusters 2 that Vigo possesses.
Yeah, he's from the Upper West Side.
Yeah, he's related to that guy, so that's fun. But I liked this one quite a bit, and then the Turtles one I thought was less good. I thought this was honestly a little bit lame. This was kind of just more of the same. The point of this seemed to be, we're going to be fighting this war with the Utroms, etc., forever, and that's okay because it's about the journey. And so I don't know. It just seems like the status quo for Turtles never changes really, and I mean it does. But this read like 20 years later, we're doing all the same stuff, and there's a second Technodrome. It's very second Death Star, and I did kind of like I'm going to spoil this. I did kind of like the reveal of we've got lots of Technodromes just waiting around. That was fun, but yeah.
This is, I don't know exactly how to phrase it. Is it canon? Like, is this for sure the future they're building to? Theoretically.
I think the answer is we'll never know because they'd never get that far. You know what I mean? There's no way that series goes for 20 more years, so it probably doesn't matter.
Okay.
And there aren't any major revelations like huge character deaths or anything like that. I think they were careful about that so that it could be canon.
But like, what if?
Although if they kill somebody off, then it wouldn't be anymore. But nobody's going to remember this.
Or finish like the Utrom War or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just
well,
curious.
I mean, there's not currently an Utrom War, so I guess it's just like the same stuff just keeps happening is the idea. You know what I mean? Like we always go back around, you know, full circle. But it's not like there's a new Shredder or anything. They don't do anything like that. Speaking of though, this is one of the coolest things I've read in a while.
I was so excited just when you showed me the cover.
It's awesome. I'm very excited about this. And I thought this was just a one-shot. This is a miniseries, and it is a delight that I'm going to get more of this. This is Shredder in Hell. We haven't had...
I'm going to talk about Godzilla in Hell.
Oh, cool. This is Shredder in Hell, and I will review this when it's done. But Shredder...
It looks awesome.
We haven't got to see Shredder in a long time, because he died issues and issues ago. Wow. Was it way back in 50? Yeah. It's been, I mean, like, we killed Krang in 75. I don't know if it's squarely 50, but it was somewhere around there. Anyway, but Shredder, is one of these characters that, is never going to fully die, and I keep wondering when we're going to bring him back, because he had such an immortal status. I figured we'd do something with him. And, yeah, he is,
that book is gorgeous.
It's really pretty. We do a lot of really nice character dimension with him and get a sense of who he was back when he and Splinter were friends in feudal Japan. And Splinter there's like a shard of Splinter in the ether, because he's able to do the astral projection thing and stuff, that it's very much like Guinan in the Nexus, because he's not... Oh, no, I know! The idea is, there is, he's basically in hell, and there is no... there is no linear time in hell, so it seems like the idea, or in the afterlife, so it seems like the idea is anyone who has died or will die can converge in the same place because there's no time. I've never seen that done. Like, if you die in the future, you can still talk to people in the past. Because time doesn't move. That's an interesting notion.
Yeah.
Which would basically mean that everyone would be there.
Yeah.
Or at least in heaven or somewhere in the afterlife.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea.
No, that's a really interesting idea. So does that mean that the last page is canon? Is it canon?
Yeah, it is definitely. Yeah, it's hard.
That's where they end up.
It's hard to say if those are the real turtles.
Okay.
I'm spoiling things. It's hard to say if that's the real turtles or if there's something else going on that we don't know yet. I don't know. But anyway, I'm spoiling too much. Whatever. It's a soul-searching thing with Shredder, and it reminds us that he's not just a straight-up evil guy, even though he turned out that way. Mm-hmm. There was a time where there was more to him, and he's finding that again. And it's really interesting. It's all done by Santaluco, who is, like, my favorite working artist. And he writes and draws this, and I've never seen him write anything, and it's just as good as Walt's ever has been.
Awesome.
I mean, it's just wonderful.
Awesome.
Anyway, highly recommend that. We are past half an hour. What else did you want to make sure that you talked about?
So, Godzilla in Hell, Godzilla in Hell is a 5-issue miniseries. Each issue is written and drawn by different people.
Where he meets Shredder because when you die, there's no time.
It's... I mean, you flip through it.
Oh, sure.
It's a glorified... I don't know. Like, it's simultaneously artistic and just like...
Oh, the whole first issue has no words.
A couple of the issues have no words. There's these... Like, in some ways it feels like an excuse for just, like, awesome images.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not. Like, I don't want to say, like, it's meaningful. This feels like a book where, like, I feel like I could go back through it and get more.
Oh, interesting. You just keep finding things.
Yeah, because, like, I read it pretty quick. Like, there's not a lot of words. The ending is amazing.
I always rush through things like this too much.
Me too.
And then I'm like, oh, wait, what happened? There was a thing that happened? I'm just looking at pictures.
There's these little bugs that, like, eat Godzilla's skin off. I'm just going to spoil the ending. They eat Godzilla's skin off. Those little things?
Oh my god, those are horrifying.
Okay, so they eat Godzilla, they eat Godzilla's skin off, and apparently just, like, through sheer force of will of, like, I don't know, like, Godzilla's existence, they all cover his body like skin.
Whoa.
And I don't know if you know this, but Godzilla has a roar, like a comic book, like thwip. Like there is a distinct this is what Godzilla's roar sounds like in comics, which is skreunk, which I'm not in love with, but they all yell skreunk. Like they are Godzilla.
But of course he's got to have a distinct sound because he has a distinct sound in movies. Yeah.
I still don't know if skreunk is the sound, but that's what it is. So, the middle issue, issue 3.
No, I would think it would linger more.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have a hard consonant at the end.
No.
It would linger more.
No, it should be a G.
And it keeps going. But no, it shouldn't. I was going to say it should be a vowel.
Yeah.
The end of that shouldn't be a consonant. It should be a vowel because it would continue.
Yeah.
Anyway, it would reverberate.
So,
I have opinions about this.
So the first issue just starts with him in hell, and we don't find out how he got there till issue 3. Which, I don't know why we did that, but for some reason it feels right. They're like, look, it's not important how he got here. He's in hell.
Yeah,
but we will tell you. It's awesome. The problem is, I don't love the art. It's my least favorite art of the entire book.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But, so, like, it doesn't really matter how he ends up in hell. Like, he, like, dies, and he goes to hell. What's awesome is that there's these, like, fairy things that keep trying to get him to, like, work theoretically for God. Like, they're like, serve peace, submit, serve peace. You shall learn to serve peace. And, like, Godzilla just squishes them. Like, he's like, get away from me. And, like, it's almost like a Spawn thing, where, like, it seems like God keeps being like, hey, come work for me. And Godzilla's like, get away from me. And he just, like, gets stuck in hell. Like, because he won't go to heaven. Because they're annoying.
That's really funny.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to talk about really briefly is I read...
I was going to ask you if you want to do that now or save it.
I feel like I'm going to forget these issues.
Okay.
But I want
to keep going.
I want to keep going.
Okay.
So I read the first about 13 issues
for the record, we're late, but Eric wants to talk about Nightwing. So...
I read the first 13 issues. I think it's the first 13 issues of Nightwing. So I haven't finished the second trade.
And I pulled them out of my stash in singles to read them, but I've not gotten to them yet, so...
These are great. Reading these is like, oh yeah, this is what superhero comics are supposed to be. Like, there's just enough character development, but like everyone's like always flipping and like punching and like, like it's each issue feels like a self-contained story that's part of a larger narrative. It's not written in arcs; just things keep happening. Like it's just moving. So like things will end, but like other things will start, and like it just. This is what superhero comics are supposed to be like, and I'm enjoying reading them so much, and I just kind of... I also skipped the main series beginning because it looked boring, and it's not really connected to what the actual series is.
Yeah.
Because this has the Nightwing miniseries. But it's just... It's so kinetic and so fun, and just... This is the escapism that everyone is looking for. If you think that there's no escapism in comics, read Nightwing. It's the escapism you're looking for. It's
25 years old, but it's the escapism you're looking for.
It's dark and it's fun. That's part why I've started going backwards so much too.
Yep.
But like it's simultaneously dark and fun. Like it feels like Daredevil if it was written by both Stan Lee and Frank Miller.
That's fascinating.
Like he's more the. It's like if a more Stan Lee-esque Daredevil
was to the darker world
was in Frank Miller's New York.
Yeah, what is the difference between Bloodhaven and Gotham? Because I'm sure they make a real distinct...
worse.
Okay.
Basically, the way he explains it is that Gotham is the way it is because of the bottom. Gotham rots from the bottom. It's got a lot of criminals and things like that. Bloodhaven is, I guess, more traditional in that it's corrupt. Like, Gotham traditionally isn't... Like, sometimes we start Gotham corrupt, but, like, it's like Gotham's, like, super corrupt when Batman's running around. Like...
Yeah, that's true.
Bloodhaven's corrupt.
Yeah.
Like, from the top down. Like, there's this great thing where, like, there's, like, a character, like, oh, that's gonna be, like, his Commissioner Gordon. But then, like, he's awful. Like, he's not Commissioner Gordon at all. But he's also not, like, the exact opposite. Like, it's not too cutesy about that. And there's a lot of that. Where it's like... You think it's going to be this, but it's not that. But it's not too cutesy. It's not like it's the exact opposite. Like, it's just establishing itself as... This comes from a Batman place, but it's not Batman. It's great. I love it. I'm like, there's like 8 trades of these. I'm going to start buying these. I just happen to have the first 2 when I started reading it, and I really like it. Chuck Dixon is a great writer.
What is his supporting cast like?
So far nothing big. His like house attendant, well, not house attendant, what do you call that? Superintendent. His superintendent at his apartment complex seems to be the only like real recurring character. So he's sent to Bloodhaven.
He doesn't have like a love interest?
That's her.
Oh, okay.
She's Asian, but
we
she
do that
has
a lot with superhero things.
Yeah.
When they're like poor or not real well off.
She's Asian, but she has like a thick Scottish accent. She has a Scottish last name, and he does.
That's interesting.
He does like so not Scottish, Irish. But he does like a Mary Jane thing. Like you don't see her for like 6 issues. He does a couple of things like that where like he kind of like builds something, and it feels like it's for the exact right amount of time. Like you're like, I don't know how long this. Oh, it's done. Like it'll be like 4 issues, or like 6 issues, like just the right amount of time. You're like, how long can this? Okay, and he resolved it. Cool.
That's why I praised the first half of season 2 Arrow so much, and then I quit doing that.
The rest of the supporting cast is kind of the Batman characters a little bit. Like there's an issue with Tim, which is really good.
So we do bring in the Batman.
Where he's kind of insecure. Yeah, and so where I left off, the next issue Batman comes. So like we've kind of been building to Batman. Dick Grayson's really insecure, and I really like it.
Yeah.
In that, like, he's confident, but like comparing himself to Batman, he's insecure. And also, in certain ways, comparing himself to Tim, he's insecure. Like, he's like, you're kind of a better Robin than I ever was. It's really interesting. I really like it. It's really good. Yeah. I mean, everyone always said that Chuck Dixon's run on Nightwing was really good, and it is. It just feels like real classic, like, good superhero
I got
comics.
a lot of that in the collection years ago, and I just never bothered reading it. But I hung on to it because people said it was good.
It is. It's really good. I don't know if you're ever going to warm up to Scott McDaniel's art.
I mean, but if the story's good, I can push through it, you know. I read all that crappy No Man's Land stuff.
That's true.
That was visually not great. Well, anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. Sure appreciate it. That finally concludes comics for this week. Eric and I, yes, sir.
So do we know what we're doing next time? What our big major?
So we're definitely, of course, going to do more Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yes.
And we've got 3 or 4 different things we could jump to because there's a lot of stuff we're in the middle of, right?
So the two big ones is, do you want to start IDW Turtles and do that first like hardcover that I have,
well,
or do you want to do Bendis Daredevil,
or do we want to go back to Walking Dead? Because we're still hip deep in the middle of Walking Dead. We were going to come back to it.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's been so long. I'm going to have to go back and start over at this point.
Or do you want to do Bendis Daredevil? Like that's the other thing. Because we stopped Bendis Daredevil to do Walking Dead for Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, I mean, this next set I will probably read Walking Dead regardless.
Okay.
But like that doesn't have to be the book we do. Like I'm just probably gonna read it regardless.
No, that's okay. And like we can talk about it. It's sort of like Batman if we both get to it.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Let's decide if we want to do.
But if we're doing Walking Dead, that's a
Turtles,
lot with Daredevil.
No, that's true. That is quite a bit. Because Turtles we can do however much of.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
It'll be one of those 2 things.
Yeah.
Plus maybe a little Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I think Walking Dead maybe Well, I was gonna say we should just sprinkle it in when we get when we can, but I don't want either of us to give away too much. Like we probably should try to keep reading that together as much as possible. We'll figure it out because I have been missing going back to that, and I'm just afraid I'm gonna forget too much. I am probably gonna go back and skim at least some of it, but anyway. So
next time we'll do something.
Yeah,
and Ultimate Spider-Man.
We'll do something. It'll probably be Daredevil or IDW Turtles. I'm leaning toward Daredevil because as much as I really want to do that with you, I don't know how much interest there is in it, and we did a bunch of Turtles last year.
That's true.
We should probably start with Daredevil and then get to Turtles, but I really want to do Turtles with you eventually. So, yeah, we'll figure it out. Well, anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We're going to move on now to how we felt about, and we got a couple of movies to do there, including we got to do Vice, and we got to do Glass. So
you almost did it.
I almost did split again. Yeah. So 2 movies with 1-syllable names. And anyway, in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Keep on trucking with us, folks. We'll be right back.